All types of coffee drinks explained in easy way. Espresso. Espresso is the foundation of almost every coffee drink you've ever seen on a cafe menu. It comes from Italy, where it was developed in the early 20th century as a faster way to brew coffee using pressure. A small amount of very hot water is forced through finely ground, tightly packed coffee, producing a short, concentrated shot with a thick, golden brown foam on top called crema. The flavor is bold, slightly bitter, and rich. Despite its small size, it contains a high concentration of caffeine and coffee oils that give it an intensity no other brewing method quite matches. Most coffee drinks in the world are built on top of this single shot. Americano. An Americano is made by adding hot water to a shot of espresso. The result looks similar to a regular drip coffee, but tastes noticeably different. The espresso is brewed first and then diluted, which means the flavor profile stays sharp and slightly smoky rather than soft and mellow. The drink became popular among American soldiers stationed in Italy during World War II, who found straight espresso too strong for their taste and began adding water to bring it closer to what they were used to back home. Today, it is one of the most widely ordered coffees in the world, appreciated by people who want a full cup without the heaviness of milk. Cappuccino. Cappuccino is one of the most recognized coffee drinks globally, and it comes in a very specific ratio: 1 part espresso, 1 part steamed milk, and 1 part milk foam, all layered together in a small ceramic cup. The foam on top is thick and dry enough to hold its shape for a few minutes. Italians traditionally drink it only in the morning and consider it inappropriate after a meal. The name comes from the Capuchin friars, whose brown robes were said to resemble the color of the drink. The balance between the strong espresso and the creamy foam is what makes it different from every other milk-based coffee. Latte. A latte is the softer, creamier cousin of the cappuccino. It uses the same espresso base, but contains significantly more steamed milk and only a thin layer of foam on top. The result is a milder, smoother drink with a gentler coffee flavor that appeals to people who find espresso too sharp on its own. Lattes became extremely popular in the United States during the specialty coffee boom of the 1990s, and are now the default order at most coffee chains. They also serve as the canvas for latte art, where skilled baristas use the poured milk to draw patterns like leaves, hearts, and rosettas on the surface. Flat white. A flat white originated in Australia and New Zealand in the 1980s, though both countries claim credit for inventing it. It is made with a double shot of espresso and a smaller amount of steamed milk than a latte, with almost no foam at all. The milk is microfoamed to a silky, velvety texture, and poured in a way that fully integrates with the espresso rather than sitting on top of it. The drink is served in a smaller cup than a latte, which means the coffee flavor comes through much more strongly. It became popular internationally as people began looking for something richer than a latte, but less intense than a straight cappuccino. Macchiato. The word macchiato means stained or marked in Italian, and that name describes exactly how the drink is made. A shot of espresso is pulled, and then just a small spoonful of foamed milk is placed on top, barely marking the surface. It exists in two main forms: The espresso macchiato is the original, small and strong with just a dot of foam. The latte macchiato flips the concept entirely, starting with a tall glass of steamed milk that is then marked with a shot of espresso poured through the center. The two versions taste quite different, despite sharing a name, and the latte macchiato has become far more commercialized in recent years. Mocha. A mocha combines espresso, steamed milk, and chocolate, usually in the form of chocolate syrup or melted cocoa powder mixed directly into the shot before the milk is added. It is sometimes finished with whipped cream on top. The drink takes its name from the port city of Mocha in Yemen, which was historically one of the most important centers of the global coffee trade, and was associated with a naturally chocolatey variety of coffee bean. The modern mocha is a much sweeter and more indulgent drink than a traditional espresso-based beverage, sitting somewhere between a coffee and a hot chocolate. It appeals strongly to people who enjoy coffee flavor but prefer something sweet and dessert-like.
Cold brew. Cold brew is made by steeping coarsely ground coffee in cold or room temperature water for an extended period, usually between 12 and 24 hours. No heat is involved at any stage of the process. The slow extraction pulls coffee compounds out of the grounds in a different way than hot water does, resulting in a drink that is noticeably smoother, less acidic, and naturally sweeter than hot brewed coffee. It became widely popular in the 2000s as ready-to-drink coffee culture grew rapidly. Cold brew is typically served over ice and is often diluted before drinking because the concentrate produced during brewing is extremely strong. Iced coffee. Iced coffee and cold brew are frequently confused, but are made in entirely different ways. Iced coffee is simply hot brewed coffee that is cooled down and poured over ice. It is quicker to make and has a brighter, more acidic flavor because hot water extracts coffee differently than cold water does. The taste is closer to a standard cup of drip coffee, but served cold. Iced lattes and iced Americanos follow the same logic, using espresso shots poured over ice and then combined with cold milk or water. The category as a whole has grown enormously in popularity, particularly among younger coffee drinkers who prefer cold beverages year-round, regardless of the season. Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is one of the oldest methods of preparing coffee still in widespread use today. Very finely ground coffee, almost powdery in texture, is combined with cold water and sometimes sugar in a small, long-handled pot called a çezve. The mixture is heated slowly over low heat until it begins to foam and rise, then removed from the heat before it boils. This process is sometimes repeated 2 or 3 times to develop the flavor further. The coffee is poured directly into the cup without filtering, which means a layer of grounds settles at the bottom and is never drunk. It is a central part of social culture across Turkey, the Middle East, and parts of southeastern Europe, and the grounds left in the cup are sometimes used for fortune-telling. Affogato. An affogato sits on the border between a coffee and a dessert. A single or double shot of hot espresso is poured directly over a scoop of vanilla gelato or ice cream and served immediately. The word affogato means drowned in Italian, which describes exactly what happens to the gelato as the hot coffee pours over it. The contrast between the bitter heat of the espresso and the cold sweetness of the ice cream melting together creates a flavor experience that is unlike anything else in the coffee world. It is typically served as a dessert course in Italian restaurants, but has found fans globally as a casual, everyday treat. Vietnamese coffee. Vietnamese coffee has a flavor profile and brewing method that set it apart from almost every other style in the world. It uses dark roasted Robusta beans, which are stronger and more bitter than the Arabica beans common in Western coffee culture, brewed through a small metal drip filter called a fin that sits directly on top of the cup and drips slowly. The resulting coffee is intensely strong and is traditionally mixed with sweetened condensed milk rather than fresh milk or cream. The condensed milk adds a thick, caramel-like sweetness that balances the bitterness of the Robusta beans perfectly. It can be served hot or poured over a glass packed with ice, and the iced version in particular has become popular far beyond Vietnam.